something strange is happening online. Millions of people are watching videos of strangers doing something incredibly ordinary, such as cleaning their apartments, organizing their fridges, resetting their desks, preparing for the week ahead, perfect morning routines, perfect desk setups, perfect Sunday resets. At first glance, it looks like lifestyle content, aesthetic, relaxing, maybe even a little satisfying. But look more closely. These videos are not really about cleaning, they are about order, about control, about the quiet reassurance that somewhere, at least in one small corner of life, things are still under control. Because the truth is that we live in a time that often feels unstable. Careers are uncertain. Economic systems feel fragile. The future feels harder to predict. And when the world outside feels unpredictable, people begin looking for something else, signals of stability, small pieces of evidence that life is still organized, still coherent, still manageable. And increasingly, those signals come from something surprisingly mundane: consumption. Not simply buying things, but buying symbols. Objects that quietly communicate something about who we are, or perhaps more accurately, who we still believe ourselves to be. Last week, we explored how people buy small comforts during uncertainty, tiny luxuries that make unstable environments feel slightly more bearable. But this week we move deeper because people are not buying comfort. They are buying symbols that repair identity. The core idea is simple. When environments become unstable, consumption becomes a way of signaling stability. Not just to other people, but to ourselves. Economic instability doesn't only threaten income, it threatens identity. Think about the roles people rely on to understand themselves: their career, their lifestyle, their position in society, their sense of belonging. These roles act like anchors. They stabilize the story people tell about who they are. But when those anchors feel unstable, something else happens. People start searching for ways to reaffirm identity. Consumer psychologist Adam Rucker and Adam Galinsky studied this dynamic. Their experiment showed something fascinating. When people experience a loss of power or control, their desire for status signaling products increases. Not necessarily because those products are useful, but because they communicate something psychologically important. Messages like, I'm still successful, I'm still competent, I still have my life together. The product becomes a signal of identity. To understand why this happens, it helps to think of consumption as a kind of language. Objects communicate. They say something about who we are, who we want to become, and where we belong socially. This idea sits at the center of a major framework in consumer psychology known as identity based consumer behavior. Researchers Reed, Forehand, Pantoni, and Warlop argue that identities function like mental categories. Each identity carries an internal prototype, a rough idea of how someone in that category behaves, how they think, what they consume. If someone sees themselves as an athlete, certain products suddenly become more meaningful. Fitness equipment, sportswear, performance gear, not simply because they are functional, but because they reinforce the identity. Consumption becomes a way of enacting the self. Researchers have found that identity shapes consumption in several subtle ways. Sometimes a particular identity simply becomes more salient. A wellness identity might make someone notice supplements, organic foods, or skincare routines. Sometimes products become symbolic markers of identity. A minimalist desk signals productivity. A yoga mat signals wellness. A color coded planner signals organization. Sometimes consumption acts as a form of identity verification. People buy things that confirm the kind of person they believe they are. Someone who sees themselves as productive might purchase planning systems, apps, and productivity tools. Not because they dramatically improve productivity, but because they reinforce the identity. And of course, people rarely hold just one identity: professional, minimalist, environmentally conscious, wellness focused. Consumption becomes a way of balancing these identities, a quiet negotiation between different versions of the self. To really understand why this matter today, we have to zoom out. Sociologist Alan Ward made an important observation about modern life. In traditional societies, identity was relatively stable. It came from family roles, occupation, religion, class. But modern societies are different. These structures are weaker. Identity becomes something individuals must actively construct. It becomes a personal project, and consumption becomes one of the tools used to build that project. Which means that in uncertain environments, consumption becomes even more important because it helps stabilize the narrative people tell about themselves. Possessions often act as anchors in identity transitions. Researchers studying young adults leaving foster care noticed something striking. Small objects could become deeply meaningful. A desk, personal possessions, items carefully saved over time. These objects symbolized independence, adulthood, control over one's life. They helped individuals navigate major identity transitions. This reveals something profound. Objects are not just tools, they are narrative devices. They help people construct stories about who they are becoming. Consumer psychologist Russell Bell captured this idea with the concept of the extended self. His argument is simple. Possessions often become part of identity. Our homes, our clothes, our devices, our environments. They extend the self into the physical world, which is why losing certain possessions can feel strangely personal, as if part of the self has been lost as well. Sociologists and philosophers have been thinking about this for a long time. Thorstein Veblen observed how people purchase visible goods to signal status. Pierre Bourdieu argued that consumption expresses cultural capital. Taste in design, food, and lifestyle signals education, class, and belonging. And philosopher Jean Bourdieu pushed the idea even further. He argued that modern consumption revolves less around utility and more around science. People do not simply buy objects, they buy meanings. Once you see this, modern culture starts to look different. Take the rise of productivity consumption. An entire ecosystem now exists around productivity tools. Notion dashboards, expensive planners, minimalist desk setups, focus timers, habit trackers. These tools promise efficiency, but they also communicate something else. I'm organized. I'm disciplined. I have my life together. The same logic appears in something like the Sunday reset. Across social media, you see people cleaning their apartments, preparing meals, organizing their fridge, resetting their workspace. These rituals are not simply about cleanliness, they are symbolic performances of order, signals that life is structured, stable, prepared. Another example is the clean girl aesthetic. Minimal makeup, glowing skincare, neutral clothing, simple jewelry, tidy spaces. It looks like a beauty trend, but culturally it communicates something deeper: discipline, self control, composure, quiet visual language of competence. When larger systems feel unstable, people often turn inward. The body becomes a project, something that can still be improved, optimized, controlled. This helps explain the explosive growth of industries centered around skincare, fitness, supplements, longevity. The underlying logic becomes simple. If the system cannot be controlled, the self can be. Social media has amplified this dynamic dramatically. In earlier decades, symbolic consumption happened mostly in private. Today, it is publicly performed. Morning routines, desk tours, apartment aesthetics, gym transformations. Consumption becomes identity performance. Objects become props in personal narratives. And when we step back, something interesting becomes clear. Symbolic consumption has changed. In the past, these signals mostly communicated wealth, luxury cars, designer clothes, large houses. But today, the dominant signals are different. People increasingly signal discipline, organization, self control. Not I'm rich, but something else. I have my life together. Objects have always carried symbolic meaning. But in unstable environments, those meanings become psychological anchors. People are not simply buying products, they are buying evidence. Evidence that their identity still holds together. Evidence that they remain competent, stable, and in control. And here lies the paradox. The more uncertain the world becomes, the more people try to manufacture certainty through symbols, through routines, through aesthetics, through the things they buy. Planner becomes proof of discipline. A skincare ritual becomes proof of self control. An organized apartment becomes proof of stability. These objects cannot stabilize the world, but they stabilize something else. It's the story people tell themselves about who they are. And sometimes that story matters more than the object itself. Because what people are really buying is not the product, it's a version of themselves that still feels intact. Hi, my name is Akanksha, and this was The Storyteller's Lens. If you like this episode, please leave a comment and let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to my channel, please.